While the surrender of the Jap garrison at Penang is being negotiated on board the battleship Nelson, landing parties of Royal Marines prepare to go ashore. Although the preliminary forms of surrender had been accepted by the Japanese Vice Admiral Uzuni, no chances were taken and the Royal Navy was on the lookout for possible treachery. Leading Chinese and Malayan citizens met the landing parties. Then the pent-up emotions of the Malayan populations burst, and the Allied forces received a tremendous welcome. There was rejoicing throughout Penang. The ordeal had ended.
In 1919, only a little over 100 years ago, Stamford Raffles, a far-sighted official of the famed East India Company, realized Britain's great need of an important base in the Indies for future expansion of Eastern trade, and against advice and wishes of his company, secured by agreement from the Sultan of Johor an island off the extreme southern tip of the Malay Peninsula, and here founded Singapore, a settlement destined to become, within less than a century, one of the greatest commercial ports and the most strategic point of the British Empire. Singapore's population is also composed of numerous other Orientals and Occidentals, all parts of the world, and it is claimed no less than 26 languages are used in conducting normal business.
From Malacca, the oldest city of Malaya, comes news of how the population celebrated the royal wedding. Even the bicycles were in full dress, while the Chinese community celebrated with the famous dragon dance. Climax of the rejoicings was the traditional Bullock cart procession, Malaya's own tribute to the royal couple across the seas.
At a garden party in the lovely grounds of the residence on St. Paul's Hill, Their Majesties were able to meet Malacca folk of all communities and in every walk of life, government officials, businessmen and social workers. They moved freely among the guests and chatted informally to all. But the visit was not just for leaders, it was for the man in the street too. The State Drive, for instance, right around the town, gave a good view of their king and governor to the people of Malacca. The climax of the royal visit was the state banquet, when His Majesty referred to Malacca's mixed history where the three races had lived side by side for many hundreds of years. It is now up to you all to safeguard its security, peace and prosperity, he said.
Hello, today we are going to learn about the Straits settlements. The Straits settlements was an administrative unit of the East India Company and later the British Colonial Office. It was formed in 1836 as a presidency under the administration of the East India Company in India. Straits settlements comprised of three, which is Penang, Malacca and Singapore. Portuguese merchants traveled to the Far East in the early 16th century looking for spices. They came across a remote, uninhabited island where they could replenish freshwater sources, which they call as Pulau Pinaon. The island was part of Sultanate of Kedah, and its strategic position at the northern entrance to the Malacca Straits has made it a natural harbour for Arabian, Chinese, European and Indian ships during monsoon months. In 1771, in exchange for safety from the Siamese and Burmese armies, Sultan of Kedah gave Captain Francis Light the island of Penang. Captain Francis Light left Kedah for June Ceylon to set up trading activities with India, Southern Siam and Northern Malay Peninsula. Light was requested by the Madras, which is the base East India Company, to acquire Pulau Pinang as a base for repair British Navy ships and as trading post for trade between China, India and the archipelago. Residents served as a middleman to secure Penang from Sultan Abdullah Kedah in exchange for pledge for British safety from his enemies. Light landed in Penang on July 17 with a small group of civilians and naval personnel. August 11, Jun Jack was appointed by Light, known as the founder of Penang, who formally took possession of the island for the crown, and the island was called Prince of Wales Island as the date falls on the prince's birthday.
Hi there, I'm Dhanusha Selva Kumar. I hope you're enjoying our video documentary so far. Throughout this video, my friends and I will be sharing some interesting facts about the Straits settlements, so do stay tuned and don't miss out on those. Well, at this point, you might be wondering who is this handsome man standing behind me. Well, he's none other than Sir Frank Swettenham. Born in Derbyshire, England in the 1850s, he's a British colonial officer who played a huge part and who was highly influential in administrating the British administration and also implementing its policies in the Malay Peninsula. And did you know Sir Frank Swettenham can actually speak Bahasa Malaysia? Yes, he can speak Malay. How, you ask? Well, in 1871, Sir Frank Swettenham was sent to Singapore in the civil service of the Straits settlements, which comprises of Malacca, the Penang Island, and also Singapore. And that is actually when he learned how to speak Malay. By learning Malay, Sir Frank Swettenham played a major role in becoming the British-Malay intermediary around the events surrounding the British intervention in the Peninsular Malaya in the 1870s. After being appointed as the resident of Selangor in 1882, Sir Frank Swettenham then helped boost the production of tobacco and coffee in the estates of Selangor. And last but not least, Sir Frank Swettenham also helped to boost the earning of tin by constructing a railway from Port Klang all the way to Kuala Lumpur. Well then, I hope you enjoyed all these interesting facts that I've shared about Sir Frank Swettenham, who is also a knight, by the way. Now, moving on to the video.
Next is Malacca. Malacca emerged as a glorious government thanks to its strategic location, which was the meeting point between Middle East and East Asia. This allowed Malacca to emerge as a major trading center for spice trade, especially in Southeast Asia. In the 14th century, Malacca was just another fishing village until it attracted the attention of Parameswara. Parameswara had thrown off allegiance to the Majapahit Empire and fled to Temasek, where his piracy and other exploits provoked a Siamese attack in 1398, forcing him to Malacca, where he established his new headquarters. Under Parameswara, Malacca soon became a favourite port for waiting out monsoons and resupplying trading ships plying the strategic Straits of Malacca. In 1405, the Chinese Muslim admiral Cheng Ho, the three-jeweled eunuch prince, arrived in Malacca bearing gifts from the Ming emperor and the promise of protection from Siamese enemies, followed by Chinese settlers who intermarried with local Malays and came to be known as the Baba Nyonya. Despite internal fallout and intrigues, by the time of Parameswara's death in 1414, Malacca was a powerful trading state as its position was consolidated by the state's adoption of Islam in the mid-15th century. In 1509, the Portuguese came seeking the wealth of the spice and China trades, but after an initial friendly reception, the Malaccans attacked the Portuguese fleet and took a number of prisoners. Malacca then fell into the hands of the Portuguese in 1511, and that was the beginning of the colonial era in Malaya. Under the Portuguese, the fortress of Formosa was constructed, and missionaries like St. Francis Xavier chose to implant Catholicism. While Portuguese cannons could easily conquer Malacca, they could not force Muslim merchants from Arabia and India to continue trading there. The period of Portuguese strength in the east was short-lived as Malacca suffered harrying attacks from the ruler of neighbouring Johor and Negeri Sembilan, as well as from the Islamic power of Aceh in Sumatra. Malacca passed into Dutch hands after an 8-month siege in 1641, causing the Dutch to rule Malacca for only about 150 years and again became the centre for peninsular trade, but the Dutch directed more energy into their possessions in Indonesia. Malacca fell into the hands of the Portuguese in 1511, and that was the beginning of the colonial era in Malaya.
The island of Singapore was first described by a 3rd century account as Pu Luo Chung, meaning isle at the end of the peninsula. The little island was then known to many as Temasek, which meant sea town. Legend has it that as the winds of change blew into Temasek, a prince of Sriwijaya paid a visit to the island and saw a lion. This wondrous sight so compelled him that he renamed the island Singapura, meaning Lion City. Singapore's modern-day name was born out of a sighting believed to be a good omen, and the region was established as a trading post for the Srivijayan Empire. British were searching for a harbour in which to refit, provide for and protect their fleet of vessels. Singapore's strategic location caught the attention of Sir Stamford Raffles, who then established Singapore as a British trading station in 1819 with a free trade policy to attract merchants throughout Asia, and even all the way from the Americas and the Middle East.
Hey guys, did you guys know there were actually more than 3 territories in Strait of Settlements? The other two is Dinding and Labuan. Dinding was incorporated in 1874 but then returned back to Perak of Sultanate after 10 years, while Labuan was incorporated in the late of 1907 after the British government extended the settlement boundaries to include North Borneo.
Each of the 3 Straits settlements had free port status, meaning that shipping and cargo could enter and leave without taxation. They served as a springboard for British expansion of control of the peninsula's Malay states. The settlement, in particular Singapore, which was a flourishing southern port centre for the ever-growing trade of commodity export and Western and Asian imports, benefited from the Malay state coming from British protection.
The East India Company. 1824, the establishment of the Straits settlements followed the Anglo-Dutch Treaty, by which the Malay archipelago was divided into a British zone in the north and a Dutch zone in the south. 1832, drug capital was moved from Georgetown, Penang to Singapore. 1833, their scattered nature proved to be difficult, and after the company lost its monopoly in the China trade, in which was expensive to administer. 1852 to 1853, these years saw minor uprisings by convicts in Singapore and Penang. On 1857, upset with East India Company rule, the European population of the settlement sent a petition to the British Parliament asking for direct rule, but the idea was overtaken by the Indian Rebellion. When a gagging act was imposed to prevent the uprising in India spreading, the settlement's press reacted with anger, classing it as something that subverted every principle of liberty and free discussion.
The Straits settlement became a crown colony on 1st April 1867, comprising 4 trade centres: Penang, Singapore, Malacca and Labuan, established or taken over by the British East India Company. The 3 territories were established as a crown colony in 1867. Labuan, which became part of Singapore settlement in 1907. The Straits colony, occupied by Japanese during World War II, was broken up in 1946, when Singapore became a separate crown colony. Singapore attained full internal self-government in 1959, became a part of Malaysia in 1963, and became an independent republic in 1965. Labuan was incorporated in North Borneo, later Sabah, in 1946, which in turn became a part of Malaysia in 1963. Penang and Malacca were included in the Millennium Union in 1946, the Federation of Malaya in 1948, and Malaysia in 1963. Sir Frank Swettenham, British colonial official in Malaya who has highly influential in shaping British policy and the structure of British administration in the Malaya Peninsula. In 1871, Swettenham was sent to Singapore as a cadet in the civil service of the Straits settlement. He learned the Malay language and played a major role as a British-Malay intermediary in the events surrounding British intervention in the Peninsular Malay state in the 1870s. Hi guys, have you heard about Cocos Island before? I'm sharing you the interesting fact about Cocos Island.
So, Cocos Island is also known as Keeling Island, Keeling Island. So, but only 2 of this island is inhabited, which is named West Island and also Home Island. So, West Island is mainly for the airport, for tourists, their bedroom or their hotels, and also for breakfast and markets. On the other hand, we have the Home Island, which is strictly for only residents. In the Home Island, there were around 450 Cocos Malays staying there. So they were brought in the 19th century by Alexander Hare to become a slave and also members of harem. So they have a very unique culture, and ironically, just like us in Malaysia, we visit our family during Hari Raya. They have this traditional boat racing, visiting village from kampung to kampung, to celebrate the event.
Japanese invasion. While there was no blueprint for self-determination, British colonial dominance of the Malaysian peninsula had been irreversibly weakened by World War II in general and the Japanese occupation in particular. Penang and Malacca were then grouped with the Unfederated Malay States and the Federated Malay States to form the Millennium Union on 1 April 1946. Despite that, Singapore was made a crown colony, as were North Borneo and Sarawak. The Union was to have a single sovereignty and a common citizenship by transferring jurisdiction over the states from the sultans to the British Crown and by offering citizenship to Malays and non-Malays on equal terms. There was, however, widespread opposition to this British-imposed, politically unified system of administration, particularly marked among the Malays in the Unfederated Malay States, who feared the encroachment of the other races. Dissolutions of the Straits settlement, the three British East India Company territories of Penang, Singapore, and Malacca were administered jointly in 1826 and named the Straits settlements. The company was dissolved in 1858 and the territories were put under the control of the Indian Office. The Straits settlements became a crown colony governed by the Colonial Office in 1867. Labuan, which had become dependent on Singapore in 1906, was founded as the fourth settlement in 1912. The Straits settlement colony of the Crown was abolished in 1946 due to Japanese invasion, and Singapore became a separate colony of the Crown, and Penang, Malacca became part of the Millennium Union, which became the Federation of Malaya in 1948, and now Malaysia. Hello there, my name is Aleeya, so I'll be concluding and recapping about the content of the documentary video itself. So let me explain based on the slide that I have shown behind my back. So again, Malacca, Penang, and Singapore became into Straits settlements established under the control of the British East India Company. And on 1 April 1867, Straits settlements became a crown colony status. And Labuan joined the Straits settlements on 30 October 1906. As 1 April 1946, this is also where the dissolution of Straits settlements happened due to Japanese invasion. And on 31 August 1957, the Federation of Malaya gained independence, as well as Singapore declared independence on August 1963, and on the same year, 16 September 1963, Singapore, Federation of Malaya, Sabah, and Sarawak together formed Malaysia. But on 9 August 1965, Singapore was expelled from Malaysia. So that's all the information that we are able to be used in the future. So that's all from me, and thank you again to my team members, and goodbye from me. Bye bye.